Hello, this is Diane Gremmel with the New Era Times, an online newspaper for the new era. And today we are here with Helen Racz, who is an amazing woman. After a 1987 automobile accident, her entire life changed when she started to deal with chronic pain. And through that, she's been able to help hundreds of people and teach other people how not only to deal with their own chronic pain, but to change their lives. And Helen, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Diane, for having me.
Thank you. And your journey started with a major accident then, quite a few years ago.
Yes, because that actually introduced me to things like biofeedback, self-hypnosis.
So you were trying everything.
Yes, and that was through the medical community here in Houston.
So you were dealing with very severe chronic pain?
Yes, life-changing chronic pain.
Okay, and nothing was helping.
No, and the doctors would all tell me that due to the herniated disc, soft tissue damage, that it was pretty much a life sentence. It would only get worse with age. And so that was really hard, paying people to help me.
You tried hypnosis, which I know has worked for some people. And you tried, obviously, whatever the doctors suggested to you.
I went to the Texas Pain and Stress Institute and learned about biofeedback. That was my first exposure to meditation. And how to self-hypnotize myself to deal with the chronic pain.
And did this affect your ability to go back to work? Did this affect your everyday life?
Yes, it did. I had to drop out of art school because my hands would go numb. It just affected everything, the way I dressed, what I ate. I was careful about what I ate for decades because they all told me if I gained weight, the pain would be worse. That might have had a benefit there, but...
But everything was taken from you then.
It did feel that way.
Okay. And so you discovered, though, a way to help yourself through this pain, is that correct?
Yes, in the most bizarre way possible. I was exposed to the book Mind Body Prescription Healing the Pain by Dr. John Sarno.
Okay.
And in reading that book, literally reading it, I would read 30 pages a day. I never put another pill in my mouth, no anti-inflammatories, no pain pills.
That's it, I'm done.
I kept reading.
That's amazing. So you just stopped taking the pills, you stopped...
Wearing turtlenecks, stopped with the heating pads, no more doctor visits. And for the first time at age 40, I was free from chronic pain.
I know a lot of people who would be interested to know how you did that. So just reading a book.
Yes.
Pardon me. Just reading a book was something that allowed you to change your entire life, start living again at the age of 40.
Yes, and everybody I've ever recommended the book to has had great results too.
So one more time, the title of the book is?
Mind Body Prescription Healing the Pain by Dr. John Sarno.
Okay, and Dr. Sarno talked about what, different techniques for dealing with chronic pain?
It's interesting. He talked about the three parts of the mind that many of us have heard of, the adult, the child, the parent. And in it, he said, if you could just wrap your mind around the concept that there's a part of us that wants to keep us safe from pain. And so it can latch on to any kind of physical injury as an avoidance technique for emotional pain. It's really fascinating. So in reading it or in his lectures, he found that many people were getting spontaneous relief from pain just by acknowledging what's going on. And it's true, my whole life revolved around
Could you give me an example of that, of acknowledging what's going on?
So the exercise the book has you do is you list everything that bothers you. Everything.
That's
yeah. I mean, down to, just little things and big things.
Yes.
And so many of us believe in, one thing with chronic pain, you're fighting depression all the time.
Yes.
Because you feel very cheated by life and by what you can't do.
And angry, and yes.
It's just so hard to be that person. And so, of course, you don't want to list the things that upset you because you feel that you'll get even more depressed or negative. But somehow in listing them all, you actually pop out of the defense mechanism of being distracted by physical pain. And not dealing with emotional pain.
So he believes that physical pain can be a distraction from dealing with the real issues you need to deal with.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so by acknowledging what we don't want to acknowledge, acknowledging, hey, my father-in-law makes me crazy, my daughter makes me nuts, by acknowledging those things, we can actually start to relieve the pain?
That is his theory, and through reading the scientific studies in the book, it was boring reading the same things over and over.
Okay.
But in doing that, it did pop a 15-year pain cycle permanently.
That is amazing. So just by getting in touch with the particular issues that were in your mind causing that disruption.
And also not speaking about it anymore.
So how do you stop speaking about something that you finally acknowledged?
It was really hard to not speak of pain when my whole life revolved around it, and I was accustomed to identifying myself that way. So I actually went through a stage where I didn't talk a lot.
Okay.
Until I
You just
started.
made a conscious.
That was it. And again, I'm reading this book, his work, every day.
Okay.
30 pages a day for probably weeks and weeks. And it was
You literally
very
made a
changing.
conscious decision. I'm mad at this. I'm mad at this. I'm tired of this, and I'm not going to talk about any of it anymore. Correct?
That was it.
That's amazing, and it worked.
And it worked.
That is fantastic.
And his work is still working for many people. And he's written another book since then. And yeah, I highly recommend him. Dr. John Sarno, S-A-R-N-O.
Okay, so in that time, once you found that you were feeling better, you were free from chronic pain, you wanted to start helping other people to find the same gifts that you had found, correct?
Yes, I've always had a compulsion to share information.
Okay.
Yes.
And one of the things, and we're going to talk about this in just a few minutes, that you discovered is something called, it's emotional, pardon me, emotional freedom technique,
Yes.
correct? And it's also known, I understand, as tapping.
Yes, because it's
Okay.
about tapping on meridian endpoints.
Okay.
So EFT,
Uh-huh.
which interestingly enough also, if you Google, is electronic funds transfer.
I know. That's exactly the first thing I thought when I saw that was, oh, okay, electronic fund transfer. Yes.
So yes, it's also known commonly as tapping.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking to Helen Racz about tapping and how you can tap into your inner power of healing. I'm Diane Gremmel for the New Era Times, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Diane Gremmel here for the New Era Times, an online newspaper for the New Era. We're here with Helen Racz, who is a visionary teacher and healer, and she's talking today about tapping. And so, Helen, when you're talking about tapping, that sounds awfully strange to think that we can change the healing of our body by simply tapping on our body. Would you give an example of how this works for us?
Sure, and it might help. The mind likes to link to things that we know.
Okay.
So think of acupuncture.
Okay.
Most of us are familiar with the term acupuncture, and that it's
Yes.
working with subtle energies in the body.
Mhm.
But instead of needles, thank goodness, you get to use fingertips.
Okay.
And you're actually tapping.
But it's not acupressure. It's
It's a
okay.
tapping just like this on the end points
Mhm.
of major meridians in the body.
Okay.
And so that's what tapping looks like right there.
Okay, so if I were to decide that I had a particular problem, for instance, I have allergies. We discussed that earlier. I would tap on these specific. Who discovered tapping? How did this start? Who discovered that this works?
So tapping is a phrase that can cover many modalities.
Okay.
EFT,
Uh-huh.
Emotional Freedom Technique, was created in 1990 by Gary Craig.
Okay, and this is something you really subscribe to. That this
Yes,
works.
and whenever I share tapping, I credit Gary Craig. He is a hero to me.
Mhm.
After my long history with pain,
Yes.
and pain, many doctors, many therapies. I mean, the money I spent was crazy, and it was hard to go and drag my pain-filled body to somebody, wait, pay them money. It was very time-consuming and frustrating. And then when I found Gary Craig's work, he teaches it for free. And he tells you, take it, share it. teach
So
it
you
with
can
anyone.
go online and you can learn these things, or you can buy a book and you can learn these things free.
Absolutely free.
Nothing. Okay.
YouTube. Go to YouTube. You could get such an education on YouTube.
So if I were to go to YouTube and I were to type in tapping, I would find.
Well, first you'd be overwhelmed by how many.
Okay.
So at first you would have to invest a little bit of time and find a few instructors that you like.
Right.
And it's a great resource. And in tapping, what they found, so Gary Craig is teaching how to use setup phrases. Now, if you're a novice and you just read a book or you go through a tutorial of Gary Craig's, you can expect about a 50% success rate.
That's more than my doctor gives. So.
And because it's so fast and it's so unusual, people tend to have difficulty accepting it. And it does look silly. It's really silly looking. And yet, if you want results, you don't really care what it looks like.
So there's a certain way that you would bring yourself through a series of commands while you're tapping, correct? Like if I want to let go of my allergies, I would tap on these meridian points.
Yes.
Okay.
While you said certain wording to keep you focused.
Okay.
Gary's whole teaching and belief is that any negative response that we're having, whether it be physical or emotional, is due to a disruption in the energetic field. So tapping is about addressing the energy field, the disruption in it. And from that, we have great changes in our emotional state, our mental state, and our physical state.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the energy is not flowing, and if we can utilize tapping as a way of getting the energy body flowing again, then health is restored to the body. Is that right?
That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay, and this works?
This absolutely works. It's all over the world.
Okay. It is amazing. You've used this personally.
Yes.
Have you had clients that you use this on who had success with this? Have you actually seen people who've had a successful response to tapping?
Almost every day.
Okay. Would you give me an example?
Well, and I would like to share with you, I mentioned YouTube.
Yes.
So EFT is very, very simple. And yet, like all things that are simple, of course, there are levels and layers to it.
Okay.
So Gary does offer very basic tutorials for free on his website. But if you really want to become masterful at it, there is a lot to learn. There are many aspects. Humans are very complicated. And so you can go deeper and deeper. But for a quick experience, so that you can know whether you want to learn more, YouTube's valuable through something that Gary found called borrowing benefits.
Borrowing benefits. Okay, and how does that work?
Well, what Gary found is that in workshops or even with psychologists, therapists, counselors that are using tapping with their clients every day, their lives started getting better. Even though they weren't tapping personally on their own stuff.
They were tapping on someone else's stuff.
Yes, and so they're thinking, what's going on? They're making more money, they're a lot more peaceful, they're having more fun.
So, all right, let me stop for a moment. Because I do want to make sure we continue that point, but are you saying you can use tapping to do things like have more fun and improve the money in your life?
Absolutely.
Okay, so psychological benefit is huge, not just physiological healing.
Yes, it works great on limiting beliefs.
Okay.
Self-sabotage.
So these doctors were finding that they were having the benefits that they were trying to help their clients to have. And what did that show them? What did that prove to these doctors?
Well, they didn't know at first. And then we realized that you could do borrowing benefits. When I first got Gary's work and tapped at home on myself, I would just copy what he was doing. My eyesight improved in both my eyes in my 40s, and I quit grinding my teeth at night.
Wow.
I started noticing more color. I noticed I was laughing more, and I thought, if I'm noticing it, that must be a big change.
Okay.
And I noticed that I was starting to make a lot of progress with the things that I was learning about positive affirmations, visioning, and moving forward like that, where I was not making progress before. And that was all through videos, tapping with Gary, and none of that included any of the things I mentioned.
So a neophyte, somebody who has no experience whatsoever, can go on YouTube, watch some videos, go to Gary's site and watch some videos, and can learn to do this in a matter of days, can learn to help themselves.
In a much shorter than days. And if they tap along while they're in the learning process, they will have amazing results.
Well, one of the questions I have right now is, why isn't everyone doing this? Why isn't this something we all know about?
Actually, in the few years that it's been around, it's spread amazingly so. They just had the Tapping World Summit online, and
Wow.
I'm sure they had over 500,000 viewers.
Really?
Yeah, so EFT is becoming recognized through the medical profession all over the world. It's in every language, every country now.
Are there different, I was going to say, are there different countries or different places where this is more accepted? Like I know acupuncture is more accepted in Eastern countries than it is in Western countries.
And yet it is becoming much more common here.
Okay.
So like anything, it takes time. Now, is EFT for everybody? No.
Why not?
Well, it looks very silly. And it's very simple. And
That to me that should mean it is for everybody, because it sounds like, why would we want to do things the complicated way if we could do things as simply as saying tap tap tap, my allergies are gone, or
well, we're funny as human beings, aren't we? And the thing with tapping is you will get 1-minute miracles. It can happen very quickly. It's
Okay.
amazing to witness. I'm delighted that my work includes that. And then some things take a lot of persistence. And most of us in our human experience don't tend to stick with things that go slowly.
okay, so I understand. You have seen though, when you're dealing in your practice with clients, you have seen 1-minute miracles.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you were, again, to describe, do you have a story that you could tell about a client or something that they've been through that has helped them immensely? A bad habit they've been able to drop, quit smoking, would something like that be a possibility?
Yes, they are. Addictions, especially to things like alcohol, tobacco, that takes a little longer, a little more persistence. Pretty easy to pop addictions to caffeine, chocolate, those kind of things. Those are fun. A story I really enjoy was actually my brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to me and he had a rotator cuff injury.
Okay.
And he didn't want to do surgery, and he said, "Can you help me?" And so
And brother-in-laws never believe in this kind of thing.
no, and I didn't even take time to explain it. I just said, "Well, I'm in a hurry." You know, he didn't call ahead. He just kind of showed up at our
Right.
home, and I just started tapping on him.
Okay.
And he got more and more movement in his shoulder, and he's like, "Oh my
Wow.
gosh, I can't believe it!" And then he left, and I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
And so later I'm thinking about it, and I asked my husband, I said, "Hey, how's your brother?" You know, I was tapping with him, but I didn't really explain it.
Mhm.
He goes, "Well, I don't know, but I keep seeing him in the gym doing this."
Oh, how funny.
And then I see my brother-in-law
That's fabulous.
later at dinner, and I say, "So I hear you're tapping in the gym." And he goes, "Yes, my first pain-free workouts in my life, thank you."
Awesome. Well, when we get back, we are going to be talking to Helen some more about the myriad ways that tapping can help you in your life, and more on tapping in just a moment. I'm Diane Gremmel with the New Era Times. Hello, this is Diane Gremmel for the New Era Times, an online newspaper for the New Era, and we're back with Helen Racz, and we're talking about healing through tapping. So, Helen, when I did some research on tapping on the internet, I saw people who were talking about being healed from cancer, myasthenia gravis, really, really intensive illnesses. So is this something you've actually had an experience with yourself? Have you met people who've had that kind of response to tapping where they've healed from something that's significant?
I have. I've met people who have healed from cancer,
Wow.
and also people who haven't.
Okay.
That's
That's an important question. What makes the difference between someone who heals from a major illness like that through something like tapping and someone who doesn't heal?
And there, you know, that is the question.
Okay.
My personal belief, what I
Mhm.
teach and live by, is there is a divine plan, and there is more going on than we can actually grasp from human consciousness.
Okay.
And yet tapping, like so many great modalities that are available to us today, gives us the opportunity to have some control in creating the best possible experience we can have. So I did know a gentleman with cancer, and he had called to work with me because he found that if he woke up in pain,
Mm-hmm.
the pain meds would take up to 45 minutes to work, whereas tapping would give him relief in like 10 minutes.
Amazing.
So he was very intrigued with tapping. And in our time and work together, he had said that he had gone into remission, but then he went back to all his old habits.
Okay.
And the cancer came back.
Okay.
So healing is a journey, and tapping can deliver 1-minute miracles sometimes. And other times it takes great persistence, and there's other things involved, diet.
Speaking of
thought
diet,
patterns.
I have to ask you, the editor of the New York Times, Rita Mills, asked me to ask you about tapping and diets. Is tapping something that can help us to lose weight? Is tapping something that can help us control our appetite or our blood sugar? I mean, this can do any of those things?
Absolutely, and I actually have on YouTube, because
Okay.
so many people had requested, I did a workshop. It's a tap to raise your metabolism.
Oh,
But then I
okay.
started getting so much feedback that people were starving hungry. Well, when you have a high metabolism like a teenager, you're actually burning fat, but it makes
Okay.
you think you want to eat a lot more.
Okay.
So we put out a second tap that your body would utilize stored energy in the body instead of craving more.
Okay.
But if you research it, there are many people who do a lot of tapping protocols for weight loss. So weight loss isn't just about food, it's about why do you put it in your body. And, we tend to eat.
So it
to-
really is, if we have these patterns stuck in our mind, we can unstick the energy, but if we have those patterns stuck in our mind, we also have to work on the patterns, correct?
You do. And
Okay.
why do we eat? And why do we eat unconsciously? And why do we overeat?
Mhm.
And why do we crave things that are bad for us? Well, something's going on at a level we're unaware of, or we
Okay.
would fix it.
Okay.
And so tapping and restoring a healthy energy flow around different aspects or topics
Mhm.
is going to give you more choice in life.
Okay.
More choice around self-love, self-beliefs, more choice around food, exercise.
I can imagine a world in which we walk into a restaurant and people are going like this while they're waiting for their
Well, I'll tell
entree.
you, if you check your iPhone or any phone that gets apps,
Yes.
last time I counted, there were 49 EFT apps for your phone.
Really?
And there is one for food, so you can get a quick fix before you do go to a restaurant.
And so they'll tell you to.
They'll give you the wording. Yes.
Fantastic. Now, one of the videos I saw when I was online researching tapping, a man actually talked about having multiple sclerosis, getting out of his wheelchair, throwing away his crutches, and being able to walk again. And this was something that he attributed to tapping, that nothing else had helped him, that he had, from a very early age, started to have degeneration in his muscles, and it was to the point where it was life or death when he discovered tapping. Do you feel like the response is normally that strong? Because
Again, it depends
Okay.
on what the person's going to put into it and allow.
Okay.
And any healer with any modality, we aren't the ones doing the healing.
Mhm.
We can only create a space, or a tool like tapping can only create a space
Mhm.
for your body to do the healing through yourself and your creator.
Okay.
So tapping has just been such a fast and delightful resource that you can learn quickly and take anywhere. And yet this man was probably working with somebody to get really into a lot of life issues.
Okay.
And on that note, I did
Yes.
want to plug this video, Operation Emotional Freedom, the answer. Now this, they took to EFT
Mhm.
and used accepted research protocol. So everybody out there who's more logical and wants to know it from a scientific aspect,
Yes.
this is as close as you're going to get. So they worked with war veterans and their families with horrendous post-traumatic
Oh,
stress
that's
disorder.
amazing.
And the results are profound.
Was this something that the Veterans Administration did, or this is simply something that people who were into tapping decided to do for the veterans?
Originally, Gary Craig was invited to come in and work with the
Wow.
veterans.
Okay.
And then other people have taken it further to create this documentary. And
Oh, that's
there are
amazing.
many EFT practitioners that will work with veterans for no cost. There's a group that does that.
That's fantastic.
It's profound to see, because we have EMDR, the eye movement, to help with post-traumatic stress, but we
Right.
don't really have any other modalities that have given such good results.
That is astounding. So we're helping soldiers with post-traumatic stress with this.
And I would like to suggest that
Yes.
as humans, we all have a little post-traumatic stress of some kind.
Oh yeah.
And tapping helps you, again, relieve the disruption in the energy field
Mhm.
from trauma of whatever kind. And in doing that, then you're in more free will and choice in how you live your life.
Fantastic. If you were to recommend reading material on EFT, what would you recommend that people pick up if they were going to pick something up at the bookstore?
Well, I always recommend the founder of EFT. Now, tapping's been around and it's in other modalities, but EFT, Gary Craig. So this is what the books look like on Amazon.
Okay.
They're like $10 on Amazon.
That's very reasonable.
This is the EFT manual, but the one I actually recommend the most is EFT, and it shows a young man's face for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Wow.
Because I do believe all of us suffer it to some degree, even those of us who tend to hold a lot of weight. We're eating to calm something down.
Okay.
And so I highly recommend start with Gary, and his website is garythink.com. Start there, he's the founder. And then from there, explore YouTube, explore all the amazing practitioners in the world, because from each one you're going to learn different words, different setups, different concepts, and then eventually you might create your own style.
Yeah, the whole gestalt of it. Well, Helen, you work with individuals, and you also do private consultations. You do group teaching exercises also, correct?
Well, actually, I do teach EFT through Leisure Learning.
Yes.
A couple times a year for people not who want to be certified, not so much professionals, but I teach for people like me who are into self-growth and self-empowerment and self-healing.
Okay.
So I do that class, but then every Thursday night at the Spectrum Center in Houston, I do Barring Benefits, which is not really a class, it's the actual experience. You come in and tap. Now there I've seen some fun things.
Fantastic. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a website?
It is my name, Helen Racz, RACZ.com.
Okay. And they can make an appointment with you if they like for a personal consultation?
Yes.
All right. We are grateful to have had Helen Racz today here for the New Era Times. Again, the New Era Times is an online newspaper for the New Era. I'm Diane Gremmel, and it has been a pleasure to be here with you today. So thank you, Helen, and thank you to you all. Have a great